Welcome to Certification Online. Certification is a free online human research protections training program for community research partners. Certification was developed with significant input from human research protection program administrators, academic researchers, research ethicists, education specialists, and of course from community research partners. It is interactive and relevant to the roles and responsibilities that community partners have in research projects. The program considers community partners' previous experience with research, which may be limited, discusses key concepts in research ethics and responsible conduct of research in plain language, and focuses on applying knowledge to real-life scenarios. Ideally, Certification Online will not only teach community partners how to respect and protect research participants, it will also empower them to be active contributors to their research teams. Here is the homepage where you can find more information about certification and the link to enroll in the certification course. Certification is free and available to anyone. To take the course, you can visit the training homepage, scroll to the bottom of the page, and select Enroll in Certification. Then select Enroll and select whether or not you are from UAC. From here, you will complete the registration form and be able to launch the course. That said, if your institution plans to use certification, we do recommend that the institution become an affiliated site. Once you become an affiliated site, your institution will be listed in the drop-down menu, and learners will be able to select your institution from the drop-down menu during registration. Affiliated sites also designate a program administrator or administrators who can view reports and completion records for learners who select your site. To affiliate your institution, simply email certification@uac.edu to get set up. Certification is currently available in English, Spanish, and Haitian Creole. Currently, certification is being used at almost 50 research institutions, including 19 Clinical and Translational Science Awards program hubs. Certification Online includes audio, text, video, and interactive activities. The training program introduces learners to the basics of the research, including the terminology, the people, and the methods. It reviews the history of research abuses that has informed ethical principles, rules, and current regulations. It also presents standards and best practices for recruitment and informed consent, collecting and protecting data, interacting with research participants, and it shows the roles of the Institutional Review Board in protecting the rights and safety of research participants. There are 9 total modules: the course introduction, Introduction to Research, Research History, Eligibility and Recruitment, Informed Consent, the Institutional Review Board, Collecting and Protecting Data, Handling Issues in the Field, and the final module is a course review and final quiz. Each module has multiple lessons and activities that must be completed before moving on to the next module. Now let's take a closer look at each module. The course introduction covers course navigation logistics. There is also a built-in tool where users utilize a dictionary should they have any questions about terminology, and a toolbox that includes hyperlinks to more information. In the module titled Introduction to Research, users will learn more about how research impacts our world. Users will also experience research as a participant and learn what it's like to work on a research study. For example, listen here as users are shown an example of a research flyer and asked to think about how the flyer could be improved.
There are many different ways for researchers to find people to participate in studies. One way is to advertise with flyers, like this one. Imagine that a participant sees this flyer hanging in the waiting room at their doctor's office. The flyer has some information about the study, but doesn't give all the information.
Here, users learn what a potential research study participant should know and understand before making a decision to participate in a research study. This activity involves interactive questions and answers, allowing the user to click on each question to learn more.
The purpose of this study is to find out if small changes to diet and physical activity can help prevent obesity and diabetes. You must be between the ages of 18 to 50 and have at least one risk factor for obesity, diabetes, or high blood pressure. These risk factors include being overweight, having high blood sugar, or having a family history of one of these diseases. What are the risks to me?
Each lesson combines visual images, audio, text, videos, and interactive activities to engage the user. Here, a visual diagram explains the steps involved in a research study. The module on research history reviews past research abuses that have informed the ethical principles, rules, and current regulations that we have today for research. In this lesson, users will learn about the unethical experiments conducted by Nazis in concentration camps during World War II in a narrative book format.
During World War II, thousands of prisoners in Nazi concentration camps were used in dangerous medical experiments.
Here, users complete a drag and drop exercise to reinforce the Belmont principles before moving on. After learning about past abuses and reasons for the creation of ethical principles, users are educated on the common rule in easy-to-understand language. The module Eligibility and Recruitment provides examples and interactive exercises. Here, users must determine whether a potential participant should be included or excluded from the study based on the eligibility criteria provided. Here, users are shown examples of statements and images that should and should not be included in recruitment material. Here, users can hover over the flyer to view what should be included in recruitment material. Recruitment best practices are summarized at the bottom of the page. There is an entire module dedicated to the informed consent process, including but not limited to tips for obtaining informed consent, sample informed consent language, and video examples of informed consent in action. Here, experienced research staff members highlight some tips for informed consent.
Before you start talking to potential participants, you should know all the study materials and details backwards and forwards. You will need to be able to answer any questions that people might have and think on your feet if you run into any problems.
Cut. When you're recruiting participants for a research study, you have two main goals. One, identify and invite only eligible participants. And two, obtain valid, voluntary, informed consent.
Users learn about the required elements of informed consent and are shown sample consent form language. Here, users watch an experienced researcher go through the consent process with a potential participant.
Now let's see some better examples of informed consent in action. Ronnie is recruiting again for the same study. This time, he is in a quieter location seated across from a young woman, so he can review the consent form with her. Then, he helps the young man consider the privacy risks of participation.
This section lists all the things that you'll be required to do as a participant in the research study.
This is a pretty good sized list.
Well, we want you to be sure that you know what you're signing up for. Think about it before you agree to it. And here.
The next module reviews the role of the Institutional Review Board in protecting the rights and safety of research participants. Users will get a peek into the important work of the IRB. Users will also learn why, as a member of the research team, it's so important to follow the research protocol and only use research documents that have been approved by the IRB. Learning more about who is on an IRB, their expertise, and backgrounds makes the IRB process less mysterious.
Every IRB has a chairperson. This person delegates assignments to IRB members, runs the meetings, and makes sure that ethical principles and rules are being followed. The chair of the IRB at the university is Dr. Brown. She is a prominent cancer researcher. She has been the principal investigator on over 10 studies of new cancer treatments. She was a member of the IRB for 10 years before becoming the chair 5 years ago. Dr. Brown fulfills the requirements for at least one scientist member. Remember, the IRB is required to have at least one member who is a scientist, but most have many different kinds of scientists as members.
In this module, users learn about the standards and best practices for collecting and protecting data. Examples show how breaches can happen and what can be done to prevent data breaches. In the module titled Handling Issues in the Field, users are introduced to challenges that may arise during participant interactions. They select how they would respond and receive feedback on their choices.
In this first scenario, a research participant asks for another participant's contact information. You work at a community agency that's partnering with a local university on a research project. As part of this project, you are teaching a healthy cooking class to research participants at your agency. After class, one of the participants, John, comes up to you and says,
I noticed that Phyllis wasn't in class today. I know she mentioned last week that her car broke down and she wasn't sure if she could afford to get it fixed. I think she lives near me. Can you give me her phone number? I'd like to see if she needs a ride next week.
How will you respond? You did the right thing. Participants provided their contact information with the understanding that it would not be shared with anyone else outside the research study.
In the final module, users are asked to apply what they learned to real-world scenarios and receive feedback before taking a final quiz.
Your friend Bill tells you that his doctor told him about a research study. Bill says he's not sure he wants to participate, but he's afraid that if he says no, his doctors won't see him anymore. How do you respond? You tell Bill that he is free to refuse to participate. It is his choice. This is correct. It is a rule in research that participation is voluntary. If Bill feels that he is being pressured to participate, he can call the Institutional Review Board.
In order to pass and receive a certificate of completion, users must obtain a score of 75% or higher. Users who do not pass the quiz will receive feedback and can then retake the quiz until they pass. As you can see, certification includes audio, text, video, and many interactive activities, and uses plain language to present key concepts in research ethics and responsible conduct of research. As they learn, users are asked to apply knowledge to real-life scenarios and are provided with feedback. After passing the final quiz, users receive a date-stamped certificate of completion. The program takes about 3 to 4 hours and can be completed in multiple sessions. Learners can log off and return to where they left off. If you are interested in using certification or learning more, please contact certification@uac.edu. We can also provide access to a demo version if you would like to explore the entire program.